just really hit home. There are two things in life that are definite: taxes and death. And as we know, with all the information going on, everybody complains about taxes, pay too much, not enough. But death is a topic people try to avoid. And it's, of course, obviously no endless. Did you know approximately 70% of the Americans do not have a will? That is alarming. Many people think and know a will is important, but they still don't establish a will. After extensive research, I would like to provide you with the facts about a will and how it can help your family, and help describe what the will is. I have done extensive research, and there are wills. This is actually a copy of my father's will, and I have a copy of my mother's will, which I'll show you, talk about here. But to think about that, what happens if you die and don't have a will? Do you know what will happen? It's called intestate. What that is, the state will decide who gets your property, who may be your guardian of your children, and this is all done without your own knowledge. How you want buried, or whether or not you want your body maybe donated to science, or want to donate your organs. So it's very important to have a will. So knowing the consequences of not having a will, let me explain to you that there's parts. There's considered 10 parts of a will. And not all wills might need it, depending on your age and where you're at in your life. But I want to just touch bases on the 10 parts there. First part, of course, is called the title. And as you see this one here, last will and testament. Very basic. Declaration, again, it's declaring, I, Charles, will declare this is my last will and testament. Very simple, basic items. Name of your executor. Whether or not you list one person or 2 people, 3 people, you list your executor somewhere in these wills. The executor, of course, is someone who handles your affairs after your death and disperses your property, money, according to your request. The 4th section, if there needs to be, is a guardian of your minor children. Anyone under the age of 18 is a minor, and you declare in your will who would be a guardian. As a lot of us are parents, I have been children ourselves, think about it. If you don't have a will, who would you want to take care of your children? As I growing up, you think, okay, what aunt and uncle would I want to live with? It's not who you want to live with, but as a parent, what sibling, what friend would raise your children like you would want them raised? So very important section of your will. Another section is detail the beneficiaries. One thing I've learned doing this research is beneficiaries trump a will. If you have life insurance, who is the beneficiary? Your 401k. Money that you may have invested, with a financial planner. Anything that has a beneficiary, that's taken care of. You don't have to worry about that. The beneficiary is listed. But you may also want to list that in your will. Detail of your assets. What kind of assets might you have? If you think about it, okay, take out my life insurance, my 401k. In my case, with my husband, our assets is our home, our cars, and actually some personal information, personal items too, which I'll discuss here a little bit later. Then we also have a section called bequest, which is probably the most important of your will. It's telling you how do you want things divided, whether that's among people or organizations. With my parents, it just told them to take our property that they had and divide it amongst the 5 of us children equally. So, this is where a will can get very hot, where I name someone to get more than someone else. But very important part of your will. Funeral arrangements, as we all know, do you want to be cremated? Do you want a burial plot? Do you want to donate your body to science? Do I want to donate my organs? What do you want to do? And again, as I was doing this research, I thought of something. My aunt was married and her husband passed away. Well, that was his 2nd marriage. He had been married to his first wife for 20-some years, and then he was married to my aunt for 20 more years. And when he passed away, my thought was, where are they going to bury him? Next to his first wife. or his, current wife. So, you don't think of those things, and to make your family make those decisions would be kind of hard at times. So again, it might be something you list in the will. Then you have signatures. Everyone has to sign it, and then there's 2 witnesses. And in both of my parents' case here, one witness was the actual lawyer, and the other one was the secretary. And then resources, if they had any other resources where they found stuff. So as these topics are discussed, think about your own self. Do I have a will? Have I listed everything that I want? This is a legal document, as we all know. So we also hear of 4 P's to estate planning. There's 4 P's that you can consider. One is people, meaning your family, your friends. Who are the people that are important to you? Your property. I will confess my husband was one, we don't own anything. Well, we own a home. This has been years ago. You have cars. You don't realize the value. You may be in debt, but it's still, property. That's what his comment was. Your plans. What are your plans? What, how would you like to provide for the people in your life? And planners. Who are the people that will help plan this? There are, people out there, the lawyers, the estate planners, your financial planners, that will help this. And actually myself, my husband and I are going to revisit this in 2 weeks. Do we have down what we want? So now that you know consequences of not having a will, parts of a will, 4 P's of estate planning, let me provide you with help in establishing a will. Like I said, there's attorneys out there that specialize in. Who do I go to? That was the question my husband and I, you look in the yellow pages, you see the ads, where do I go? Ask your friends, your family, who do they refer to? Our financial planner actually knows of an attorney that is very much like us, and he felt we would be best to deal with this attorney. So that's who we're going to be meeting with. Interview them. Set up a meeting, interview them. But it's still important to have a will. There's also websites out there now that help you develop your own will. There's one called doyourownwill.com. Very simple. rocketlawyer.com. Will, the 3 W's, .will.preparecase.com. And I don't know if you've ever noticed too, in maybe different stories you'll see, prepare your own will. And I got off the website another form, and you literally just fill in the information. If you don't want to talk to an attorney and you think everything's very basic, you can just fill this in, any children, any property. But the key is your signature and a witness. So that's available. As I told you, here's my parents. When my father died, we called it an I love you will, because his request was pay for my funeral. Everything else went to my mother, because she was still alive. So then, of course, my dad died in 2000, and he listed the executors. My brother, who's the oldest, and my sister, Sandra, who's his older sister, were the executors. And when he passed away, my mom established another will, and she did the same thing. Pay for my funeral expenses, and then divide everything up amongst us 5 kids. And she also listed my sister Sandra and Gary as executors. One thing that I want everybody to think of is, once you're over the age of 18, you need a will. What are the consequences of not having a will? I myself have noticed a lot more people my age or younger passing away, and I know it's hard to think about, but you're like, this could happen to me. So now with, like I said, all these sections of the will, what do I want to give to people, or how do I want to establish them? And with today's technology, there's no excuse not to have one. You just have your own made out. And I know thinking of one death is very difficult. I don't have a problem. My father died at the age of 63. My mother 67. I had a nephew killed at the age of 19. I've unfortunately been affected, and you see the results of it. So take action today to have a will drawn up if you don't have one. Take action today to review your current will. Take action today to update it. If your kids are no longer 18, you don't need to have a guardian. Or if you have one child, 18, maybe you make them the guardian. You know, take action today, protect your family. Along with this will, you also have living wills. If something happened to you medically, you have power of attorneys, not only financial, but you also have medical. And another thing, as I was doing this research, in July 1st, 2001, I received from my mom china that was my grandmother's. And my mom was one, she wrote all this stuff down, every piece of china that we have. And the one thing she had on the bottom is P.S. Please keep this in the family for Berta. It wasn't part of her will, but it's something I take to heart. And this is 75 years old. It says exactly where my grandma bought it. And this is just one piece. I brought it in to show you. And I plan on giving this to Rachel, my daughter, and keep it in the family. Again, I'm taking it as not part of her will, but yet I respect it as it's her will. The other piece of item, and I have it today, is my mom's wedding ring. This was her engagement and diamond ring that she had redone 15, 20 years ago. And upon her death, I got it. So this is something that I will establish either in a note to Rachel, again my daughter, or in my will, as we revamp it, that this goes to Rachel. So these are those little things that might mean something to you, but does anybody know? I also have china from my godmother, and I'm going to pass it on to my godchild. So I know you think, oh, this is hard to think about, but it's something that we need to do. Thank you.